welcome to the Real Estate Investing School podcast. I'm your host, Joe Jensen. Today, we're actually going to be sharing with you Casey Baugh's keynote presentation from our 2022 live event that we had in person in St. George, Utah. The topic that he shared, which was awesome, was the key to wealth mindset. Excited for you guys all to be able to dig into this one.
This event is like right down the middle, sweet spot for kind of what I feel like my purpose in life is. And it's just to serve. Anybody that knows me knows like my heart, there's like holes in it or something. So if I start crying like 3 minutes into it, it's very normal. But I truly feel like the whole purpose of life, the secret to living is giving. It's giving back and it's growing. And that's when you are fulfilled, is when you're kind of in that mode of getting better and then contributing. And so I'm going to tell my story today. I don't have kind of so many things on real estate, but I have more things on just life and investing and kind of a paradigm that I actually think this is the most important thing to getting wealthy is your mindset. I think that 90% is psychology and 10% is skills. And I think so many of our lids are mental lids, where just in our heart, we have these self-limiting beliefs that potentially we don't think we're good enough. We don't think we're worthy to go be successful. Fear paralyzes us. And if you feel those things, you're normal. I spoke to it's random because I'm speaking a little bit lately. I spoke to another group. It was the reason I said yes to Brody is because we worked together for a lot of years. And there was once, I was just talking to him and Andrea, they had worked for another company, or they were looking to go work for another company, and I still remember meeting them, and you could just feel that there was something special about these two. Like I could feel it the first second that I met them. And then I got a chance to work with them for probably a decade, and it just never stopped. I was always so impressed with just how driven and how just they practiced everything that they preached. Every dollar that they got from going out and knocking doors, they invested. They worked so hard to get smart and get educated. They were both on board. I remember going and staying at their house one time, and the entire place is under construction. And it's because they moved in, they were rehabbing it, they were living in it, and then they'd sell it, and then they move on to the next one. And that decision as a family is a team decision. I try to pull that crap on my wife, and it's just like, no way. Like that thing would get shut down. And Andrea, they were just always so down. They always saw the big picture from really, really early on. So I'm going to go into a little bit of my story. So I'm celebrating my 40th Jubilee. This is my 40th birthday year. And so it's there's a lot of reflection as I look back and say, hey, what have I done and what do I want to go do? But I remember I was 21 years old. I went on church mission, and I somehow ended up down at UBU. I was from Logan. And my upbringing, I was one of 7 kids, and there just wasn't, I didn't have mentors that were teaching me what success looked like. My dad is, success is relative. If I wanted to get advice on how to stay married, and how to raise great kids, and have a good reputation in the community, my dad's the person to go talk to. But if I want to talk about how to be financially independent, he's not the one to talk to. And so just kind of lived, in a small town. And I remember when I was 17 years old, I had my other buddy that's kind of my rich dad. And his dad ran the biggest company in our little city up in Logan. And he was, they were super wealthy, had a private plane, had all these, I'd never been on an airplane until I was 17. And I remember we were going down to Vegas, and 17 years old, with, bad intentions. And my buddy's dad is like, hey, don't do that. He's like, if you guys come with me, I'll show you the best night you've ever had.
What's up, guys? It's Brody Fawcett. Hey, I just want to jump on here really quick and say thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. week after week. It means so much to us. Real quick, if you are getting value out of this, please go ahead and leave us a review, and feel free to share this with anyone who else you think might receive some value. And if you feel like you could benefit from working with us directly through a one-on-one coach like Joe or through our trainings and online program, head on over to realestateinvestingschool.com, where you can schedule a free one-on-one strategy call and dive in to see if Real Estate Investing School will add some value for you.
Like, that sounds pretty cool. We didn't have any money, so we were gonna, I don't know what we were gonna do in Vegas with like $10. But he takes us, and I remember he took us on rides, he took us around the city, and then he took us to Roost Chris. And the nicest restaurant I've ever been to was Sizzler. And I was just like, this exists in the world. And I remember eating this steak, and there was these sauteed mushrooms. And I had this distinct thought at 17 years old. It's so funny to think back about this, where I'm like, I have to make a lot of money so that I can eat at restaurants like this the rest of my life. And that was like as big as I could dream was, I just want to eat a lot of these restaurants because it was so good. And then that was kind of the start of it. So I remember going on a mission, and I came back. And the reason why anytime that I can say yes to something like this, like Brody's not paying, he should be paying me a little bit. I didn't realize you're charging. I want to go get like a cut. Anytime that I'm saying yes to something like this, it's because I went to an event like this when I was 21 years old. And my dad used to give me books to read. And he would pay me to read these books. And it's interesting, you don't realize it when you're a kid, but he didn't have any money. But he'd pay me to read these books, and they were like, The Richest Man in Babylon. Pay me $100 to read this book. So I'm like, sweet. Read it, write a report, give it to him. Think and Grow Rich. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You know, the magic of thinking big. And so I remember I had like this little baseline of kind of psychology on, I want to be successful, super driven, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I can't get a job. I'm in Utah County. I still remember I was going around Utah County trying to get a job. And I'd worked as a waiter in high school. And I made pretty good money. I made like $15 an hour. So I'm like, that's what I need to go do. And I remember going to Chili's, and they like put my resume on this stack of 14 resumes. And I'm like fighting to get an $8 an hour and 50-cent job. And then I got into commission sales, and it like changed my life, where I'm like, I actually get paid for the work I do. This is amazing. So I made a little bit of money, and I went to a seminar like this, and there was a guy who at that point I thought he was old, and he was actually 40. And now it like kind of comes full circle. But he got up, and he was so well spoken, and he was confident, and he was successful, and I was kind of the opposite of that, sitting in the back of the room. But I had $1,500 that I wanted to give to somebody to go make me wealthy. I learned enough to know that, hey, if you invest, and you invest in a young age, and it compounds, that it'll turn into something bigger. But I didn't know anything else, so I go to that meeting, and the guy said something that was completely profound. He said, there's no such thing as good investors, or no such thing as good investments, there's only good investors. And if you don't know what a good investment is, leave your money in the bank, invest in yourself, invest in your human life value, your ability to see what a good investment is with your own eyes. And I went there with money to give to somebody, to pass my responsibility to somebody else, to go make me wealthy. And for some reason, that just hit me so hard when Brody's saying, hey, one thing, that was the one thing for me, and it just hit me. And if anybody knows me, I'm like an action person. I'm just like, it's not ready, aim, fire. It's fire, 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 fire. It's just go all the time. And so I'm like, I had this idea, and I'm like, this is it. So I go to Barnes & Noble, and I bought $1,000 of books on CD. cleaned them out. I got like the stuff that's like John Adams' biography. I got to the end of the list. I just took everything that they had. And I had this idea. It's like, I'm going to listen to every book, and I'm going to learn something that's going to go make me wealthy. And I bought an iPod. And it's so funny looking back. So I literally took these books, took them home, downloaded them, loaded them onto my iPod. And I come home, and my fiance at the time, I've got this bag of books. I just spent our entire net worth and an iPod. And I'm so pumped. I'm just grinning ear to ear, and I'm like, this is it, man. I'm going to listen to this, and I swear I'm going to learn something. We're going to be wealthy. And she's like, okay, we're in love. And that was it. That was the start of it. And I've never stopped. It's been 20 years. I've been on kind of this religious pursuit of self-improvement. And I've gone from not knowing much to knowing more than I knew back then. And I can see an opportunity now and know if it's good or bad. And I can make that decision for myself. And I learned how to learn. And I learned habits that have made me super successful. And so fast forward to today. I want to tell you guys kind of what's going on today. I'm not telling this to brag, but I am telling this to say we're doing some big stuff. And it compounded. It didn't start that way. It started really small. And that's how everything starts. It just starts like taking action and moving in a direction. Just having a little bit of faith and moving. I did door-to-door sales for 17 years. Started out working for a satellite company, then started working for Apex. When I was 28 years old, I bought some equity in the company, and they sold to Blackstone. I made $8 million, and that was kind of my first event. And so I started investing at a young age. You know, we'd make money and I'd go put it to work. Make money, go put it to work. And so over time, we did a ton of deals and got a lot of experience, good and bad. But this company, so we had done all types of real estate. We've done land deals, we've done storage, we've done hotel, industrial warehouse, office, multifamily. But we'd never done trailer parks. And because it was such a niche business, it was so hard to get in. It was just tough to break into it. And then there's a local family that manages like 20,000 pads. It's one of the wealthiest families in Utah that nobody knows. And this kid who worked there, he went on his mission, and that guy was his mission president, and worked for the family for 15 years, and then decided to go off on his own. And so me, just like my simple brain, I'm like, he's got really good experience. I should give him some money. I should be the first person to give him some money because he's going to do really good things. And so we did. We gave him money. We bought our first trailer park. We bought our second. We bought our third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. And then it got too big for our own money. We're like, this is a really good opportunity. I don't know how to raise money. Who should we talk to? And so we went, and my other friend, the rich dad, his son, he was like silver spoon. So I had to work in college. He didn't. He went to New York and went to Columbia Business School and kind of the other route. But we had done real estate deals with him forever. And so we partnered up with him, and we raised a couple of funds. We raised an opportunity zone fund. There was a new tax code that had just switched. We raised $100 million. It was the easiest money that had ever been raised. It's like, you have a long-term capital gain. Do you not want to pay taxes? No. Okay, just put it in our fund. And we raised $100 million like super quick. And then, but with these opportunity zones, there's a line, and you can have a park in the zone and one right across the street, and it's not in the opportunity zone. It's like, we should probably raise a second fund to get those too, because those are really good assets. And so we went and we did that. And over the course of 4 years, we've gone from no pads to we own over 40,000 pads. We've deployed over $2 billion of equity. We merged with another company, and now our main limited partners are Blackstone, Quadrille, which is like one of the biggest pension fund. They're a private equity fund for a pension fund in Canada, in British Columbia. Utah's pension fund's done over $700 million with us, And it started by just this simple idea of like, he spent 15 years in that industry. He has this specialized knowledge. I just want to be around that person. So there's a book, if you go read any book, the most profound book I've ever read on investing is the simplest book. It's this book called The Richest Man in Baugh. And it's this story about this guy that his friend becomes the wealthiest person in this city. And he's just living paycheck to paycheck. And so he goes to learn from the richest man in Babylon. And the guy kind of gives him some counsel. So the first counsel he gets him is you got to pay yourself first. The money's going to disappear, so you make sure to pay yourself first. And so he does that for a year and gets a little nest egg. And then he goes to invest it. And he comes and talks to his friend. And he tells him about the investment. He gave his money to the brickmaker to go buy diamonds at the coast. And the richest man in Babylon's like, you're a fool, you lost your money, the Phoenicians are scoundrels, they stole your money. And then his friend comes back just distraught, and his friend's like, yeah, they sold me glass, I thought it was diamonds. And that was his first lesson was, don't give money to the brickmaker to go buy diamonds. And that simple lesson has made me so much money in my life. And when I've lost money, I've given money to the brickmaker to go buy diamonds. I give money to somebody who doesn't know what they're knows what they're talking about in one area, and they get into something that they don't know. And just that simple lesson that you're never going to be expert in everything. It takes 10,000 hours to be expert in something. Like world class. But you can't partner with experts. So find somebody that's just world class and partner with them. And that's why this school is so great. So we did that. And that was my simple insight was this guy spent 10,000 hours doing this job and he doesn't have money and I have money. I'm going to partner with him, and it's turned out really good. So that was, a business that we built. But that business kind of got too big for for high net worth and family office money. And then my business partner in the back, Dave, he spent his whole life in private equity. Did his MBA at BYU, went back east and worked for Common Fund and portfolio advisors, doing direct deals and helping pensions and institutions invest. And then he came back during COVID, and same thing, there was an opportunity that was created. And there was a serial entrepreneur, real famous entrepreneur by the name of David Neilman. And he's done 5 publicly traded airlines. He did JetBlue, he did Azul, he was owner in TAP Air Portugal, Air Canada, and he was doing his 5th airline, Breeze Airways. And COVID hit, and 85% of the market cap in airlines disappeared. And so all of a sudden there was this window where he needed money and no one wanted to invest in airlines when everybody was locked down during COVID. And my partner Dave, he saw an opportunity and just said, he asked him, he said, hey, could I go raise money for you? And he's like, yeah. And then he goes and talks to some of his friends and finds out about SPVs, that you can actually set up an SPV and that you can charge carried interest. So he sets up this structure and he goes and raises, $50 million in 3 weeks during COVID. Ends up deploying 25 million of it. And that's what started Sandlot Partners. So me and him have partnered up. We deployed just over, this year it would be over 600 million of equity over the last 2 years, over just a lot of different investments. Everything from operating companies to oil and gas to real estate. We just closed a $21 million industrial warehouse real estate deal, really cool deal. But all of it's kind of that same simple thesis. David Neilman was the brickmaker that had done it for 3 decades, building bricks. Just invest with them and you're going to do great. Just get on that rocket ship. And we just try to do that. We try to find people who are world class and just negotiate and beg our way into us buying a piece of their company. And it's worked out really well for us. So that's what I do now. That's my kind of profession. I love it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 5 laws. And I promise you, I guarantee you, if you apply these laws, you will be wealthy. 100%, like 100% guaranteed. And the opposite's true. If you don't apply them, you won't be wealthy. And the statistics are kind of scary. 3%. So just by raise of hands, look around after I ask this question. Look around the room. How many people in this room have a desire or want to be financially independent? Raise your hands high if you feel that way. So look around. Statistically, 3% will be. All of us want to be, and I think this is an elite room. There's not too many people on a Friday night paying money to learn about real estate investing. So I think this is not the normal. This isn't the norm, but statistically, 3% will be financially independent. So the question is, the other 97% will want to be. What's the difference between the 3% and the 97%? Real question. The action, maybe my dad took a ton of action. He's a really hard worker. Time could be part of it. Mindset, I think mindset's a big, big part of it. Like if you don't have mentors around you who can show you how to do it, why do you see like all these like pro basketball players and their kids are like the top prospects? Or these pro baseball players and their kids are the top prospects? They grew up learning the game and seeing it at the top level, and they believed. So I think mindset's a big part of it. What I would say is roadmap too, your psychology. The chokehold on you becoming wealthy is your psychology and your skills, but it's 90% psychology. And so we gotta start seeing ourselves different. If you don't expect to be wealthy, fully expect it. And think that you're worthy of it. Like we have screwed up views on money that self-sabotage us. We have weird self-limiting beliefs, and you gotta root them out and you gotta kill them. And it's a process. Just like working a muscle is a process to get into physical shape, working your psychology to get a positive mental image of yourself and money is the difference between keeping it. If you think money is evil, but you really want it, you're gonna be like at odds with yourself all the time, all day, every day. It's like, I want it, but that's bad. And so you gotta get this view on what it's all about. So what I'm gonna tell you guys is my personal psychology on what it's all about. This is how I see the world. And so there's 5 laws. Okay, law number 1, compounding. Albert Einstein called this the 8th wonder of the world. And it's this simple. If you invest today and you don't lose it, and you put it in something that just rolls and you don't touch it, you will be wealthy 30 years from now. I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's that simple. If you invest money and it rolls forward, put it in an index fund, a low fee index fund, and don't touch it for 30 years, you will be wealthy. Every person in this room has a compounding calculator on your phone. If you have an Apple phone, it's preloaded. It's in numbers, preloaded, and you can pull it up and you can say, if I put 10 grand or 20 grand or 50 grand today, and I got 12%, and I didn't touch it for 30 years, what is it? And it's a really big number. And so that is key on everything. And compounding, when you talk about wealth, one of them, like, money is one side of it. But I have a much different view. It's holistic. If I'm rich and I'm divorced, I failed. If I'm rich and I have a terrible relationship with my kids, I failed. If I'm rich and I had to do it at the expense of my business partners, I failed. And so it's being wealthy in kind of all aspects of life. If I'm wealthy and I have no physical health, I'm 50 pounds overweight, I failed. I missed it. And so it's a holistic approach for everything, and compounding applies in all of them. Find somebody who is physically healthy, and it's because they have daily rituals that they do on a daily basis. Find somebody who's intelligent, who's smart, And it's because they have daily rituals that they do on a daily basis over a decade. It takes a decade. So anybody who's coming for a quick fix, there are no quick fixes. It takes 10,000 hours. And so the key is to identify what's important in life and start down the road of 10,000 hours on all those categories. In 10 years or 15 years from now, you're going to be really smart, good physical shape, great marriage, great relationship with your kids, influence in the community, and a big bank account. And I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's that simple. Identify your roles, put in work every day, do it for 10,000 hours. That's compounding. Number 2, don't lose money. I say this and people smile. I read this in a book this morning. I was given the quote to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has 2 rules. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, follow rule number 1. It's that simple. I was reading this book by Stephen Schwartzman today. He's the CEO of Blackstone. And he said, our main rule is we don't lose money. He said, I tell that to people and they laugh, and it's not a laughing manner. We manage the downside. And we just structure so that we don't lose money. So if you do those 2 things, compound, and don't do a deal if there's probability of losing money. So I want to walk you through this. You go to Vegas, and there's red and there's black. And you put your money on black. And it hits black. What happens to your money? If I put $100 on black, what do I get? I double it. I get 200. If it hits red, what do I get? 0. I lose it. Never do that bet, ever, in investing. Too much downside, not enough upside. So this is going to go to rule number 3. Take asymmetric risk. Now I'm going to, asymmetric, this is what it means. You go to Vegas. I set this game up for you. You get to play this game 100 times minimum. You have to play 100 rounds. You sit down, and I say, hey, if it hits black, you've 3 to 5x your money. If it hits red, you lose 3 out of 100 times. How many times would you play that game? You'd never stop playing it. You'd say, I will play this an infinite number of times. I'll take those odds every time. And that's what we do with investing. That's it. It's that simple. We find deals where there's 3 to 5% chance of losing with 3 to 5x upside. And we look through 100 of them to get one that meets that criteria. And when we get it, we bet big. And then we get it, we bet big. And we just keep doing it. And if it doesn't hit that criteria, we don't do the deal. It doesn't matter if you just, we just wait and wait and wait. And when you find that one that there's limited downside with 3 to 5x upside, you do that deal. And I'll go through some examples of it, but just keep, if you just have those as rules saying, I'm going to compound my money, I am not going to lose. I'm going to leave it in my bank account before I do something where I'm going to lose money. I'm going to wait. And then you look for deals that say it needs to have at a minimum 3x upside. Hopefully 5, but at a minimum 3 with very low downside. And then do it. And do it again, and do it again, and do it again. So here's a couple of examples of deals that we've done. So we invested in 2 companies. One of them's called DiviPay. Has anybody ever heard of DiviPay? Fintech company in Salt Lake, really cool company. So Dave had a relationship with a private or a venture capital firm in Salt Lake. I didn't know anything. So I'm like, in kind of a company's progression, you basically have seed capital, which is kind of friends and family, angel capital. Then you'll have an early round when a company's starting to grow, and then you'll have a Series A. That's kind of usually your first smart money that comes into the deal. And then you'll have a B round, C round, up until an IPO or a sell. And so we came in the D round. This company is just a gem. It's 2020. It's a fintech company. Software multiples are at 20 plus. It's just this really hot company. Everybody wants a piece of it. And so we came in and we invested in the D round at a $1.4 billion valuation. So let's say, for example, just for simple math, we own 10% of the company. We didn't own 10%, but let's just say we own 10%. And say that company just tanks. It falls apart. And it goes to $300 million and they fire sell it. How much would our 10% be worth? Somebody who's really smart. How much would our 10% be worth? 30 million. You would. That's the kind of common sense answer is if you own 10%, it's worth 300 million. It's worth 30. We put in 20 million bucks. So I'm screwing up the math, but what it's worth is our exact investment. Because that's how you manage the downside. You do what's called a preferred security. That means I'm the last money in and I'm the first money out. So until I get all of my money back, no one else gets any money. And that's how you manage the downside. And so we did that on that deal. They sold to a company called Bill.com, and we'll end up doubling our money, 2.5x our money. Another company called ClickLease. We came in, we bought 20% of the company at a $200 million valuation. $250 post money. So now we own 20%. We put in 50 million bucks. So follow me on that same example. If it tanks, if it goes to $60 million, how much do we get back? We own 20%. 50, we get all of our money back because we have a preferred security. So that's an example of don't managing the downside. So this is kind of what we do on a daily basis. Okay, going to the fourth one. Diversification. Don't have all of your eggs in one basket. And this is just simple common sense. If you have like a really good apple tree that kicks out a ton of apples, but then it has like a bad year and the apple tree dies, what happens to all your apples? Even though it was like the best apple tree, you don't have any apples anymore. So it's good to go have like 10 apple trees, or 100 apple trees, or 100 apple trees in different states. And that's like, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's just that. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Spread out your bets over a lot of things. And if you do that, you'll be shielded from like one catastrophic event that takes out your net worth. David Neilman, this guy who's this legendary founder, he was worth $1 billion. $1 billion. COVID hits. All of his money was in airlines. All of it. He lost like $850 million in like a month. This is a guy who's brilliant. But he just didn't practice this one simple principle, which is don't have all your eggs in one basket. And he's like, well, I had all my money in 5 different airlines. Well, it's the same sector. Spread it out. So like in real estate, we're in multifamily, land, storage, workforce housing, office, hotel. COVID hits. Which ones did good in COVID? What do you think?
Residential.
Storage, multifamily. Which ones did bad during COVID?
Hotel.
Office, hotel. Office actually didn't do that bad, surprisingly. Hotels were tough. We own like a couple hotels that were absolutely ripping it. They went just to nothing. So if we had all our money in that one hotel, we would have been in trouble, but we didn't. We were spread out over a lot of different things. So when one of them went down, the other one went up, and that's the whole point, is to spread it out. And even like, this is a real estate seminar, but it's a principle. Don't just be in real estate. Be in public equities, be in oil and gas, be in private equity, be in bonds. Be diversified. Then you're not exposed to any particular thing. And then the last one, tax efficiency. That's why this real estate is like such a beautiful asset class. The wealthiest people I know have huge real estate holdings. And it's because it's so tax efficient. So I'll tell you guys about a deal we're doing right now. This isn't real estate. But 2 years ago, the end of the year comes around. And it's COVID. And we get hit up by a buddy that says, hey, these guys have this oil and gas project you should go check out. I'd never done oil and gas. And we go sit down with them. And no one is touching oil and gas with a 1,000-foot pole. Oil went to negative. Somebody explain that to me. How does oil go to negative? I still don't understand it, but it did. It went to negative. It went, I don't even know what it means still, but it went negative like for the first time in history. And it bounced up to about 40 bucks. And the break-even point to most oil and gas projects is 55 to 60 bucks. So on paper, that looks like a really bad deal. But we met with the guys, and actually, like when we peeled back the onion, there was a publicly traded company called Ovintiv that had bought up all these little companies. And with oil and gas, if you get a lease, if you get the rights to a lease, you have 10 years to drill on this lease. And if you don't drill, you lose it. And there was this group of, they had these leases that they were planning on drilling. They had it in the budget. And then COVID hit, and it just crushed their market cap. So they put all expenditures on pause. So you have this big company that has these great leases, and they're gonna lose them if they don't drill on them. So they came to this partner, and they said, hey, if you guys put up all the capital, we'll donate the lease, and then when you guys 2x your money, then we'll split it going forward. So the break even went from $55 to $17. So oil had to go below $17 and stay there, which it's never done in like 70 years, for us to lose money. And you write off 85% of what you invest off your taxes. And so I don't know anything about oil and gas, but I know I have this tax consequence that's just coming up right now, and it's going to get me. And oil hasn't been to 17 bucks and stayed there for 65 years. And you have a publicly traded, reputable company that's going to go drill the wells. And so we put 20 million bucks into this thing, and I think we'll end up like 3.5 to 4x in our money. It's returned all of our capital. So fast forward, at the end of this year, we'll have done over $200 million in oil and gas in 2 years. For the same thing, we're doing a project right now. This one is 90+% write-off against ordinary income. And my head just exploded. Like, I can not pay taxes on my ordinary income and get a total return of capital in 12 to 14 months. But it's this principle. It's saying the biggest expense you're ever going to have in your entire life is taxes. Ignorance is not bliss. It will strip wealth from your kids' kids. And the system is built to just shake you down. It's not built to take care of you, it's built to take your money. But there's legal avenues where you can keep more of it. And it's your job, and I kind of honor you guys for taking time on a Friday night to get smart on these things. Because if you can get smart on taxes, it is going to be the difference between being wealthy or not wealthy. What you don't pay to the government, you can invest, and it compounds and it grows forever. And these guys are going to have just some amazing tools that they do to keep more of what they make. So I'll give you one more example. So we bought this plane. It's an $11 million plane. Same thing, pre-COVID, nobody's buying planes. Interest rates dropped down to 2.9%. And we get a call from this broker, and he says, hey, this plane's available, you can put money on it. So it was an $11 million plane, good idea or bad idea? It depends. It depends. There's no such thing as good investments. There's only good investors. So let me walk you through the details on this. I had a big tax consequence. The company I worked for had gone public, and I had a big taxable event. I put $3 million down with my partner. We were able to borrow $8 million at 2.9%. They changed the tax code in 2016 where you can write off 100% of the purchase up front. So by putting in $3 million, we were able to make $4.5 million in tax savings. And we got a plane that was at $10,900,000 that somehow appreciated in the first time in the history of the world. Now it's worth $15 million because the world went crazy the last year and a half. But the whole thing was driven by taxes. It was saying, I have this big event, I know I'm going to pay taxes, I've always wanted a plane, we'd use it for our business, interest rates are half what they were. And so it's taking advantage of just the resources that are around you, and the only reason that you can do that is if you go spend the time getting smart to be able to see it with your own eyes. And that's what that guy told me when I was 21 years old that just hit me so hard, and hopefully I can communicate that to you guys today, is if you go on this journey of getting smart, and everybody is going to want to give you advice, and there's 3 people that you should take it from out of 100. And it's not the same people. If you want to get advice on how to get healthy, who should you get it from? Andrea, absolutely. Yeah, that's a very good answer, Andrea. If you want to become expert on real estate, who should you talk to? These guys, you're doing it right now. It's not theory. It's not something that they've thought about doing. It's something they're personally doing in their lives. That's why they're able to be financially independent. So they're the right people to get advice from. You want advice on how to stay married? Go find somebody who not only has stayed married, still loves their wife or husband. 2 different things. And has a passionate relationship instead of just like friends living together. For me, I'm like, I want passion in my life. I want like a romance, a lifelong romance. And that's different than just being married and living in the same house. And I want a great relationship with my kids. So you gotta find mentors that have great kids. And I'm just telling you, like, all of the answers are there, but there's so many people who will give you advice, and you shouldn't take it from most of them. Only take advice from people who are doing and living the life that you want to go live. And discard everything else, because it will send you down the wrong road. The people who care about you the most will give you some of the worst advice. I remember my father-in-law was going to go out and knock doors for the first time, and he like puts his arm around me. He's like, hey, I think you need to get a real job. And it's like, a couple years later, it's like, hey, can I get a loan? He loved me, and he didn't want to see me get hurt. But I was taking advice from somebody that had built a multi-billion-dollar business on knocking doors. So I'm like, this is a real career. This guy's doing it, and he's done really well. I'm just going to do what he did. So I'm going to wrap it up. So what's it all about? So when you get to the top of the mountain, what's it all about? So yesterday morning, it was my daughter's birthday. And I have this little ritual where I'll get up and I'll meditate every single morning. So I wake up, I'm alone, I'm by myself. And I remembered, hey, it's my daughter's birthday. I'm like, what does she love more than anything else in the morning? Chick-fil-A. So I hop on DoorDash, order, Chick-fil-A. I'm like, sweet, I'm dad of the year. And so I'm feeling good about myself. And I have this friend of mine that he's like my mentor in a lot of these categories. And he'll go get cash, like $10,000 at a time from a bank, and he'll just leave it in places, and he just finds people that need it. And I was like, that's the coolest thing, man. When I get wealthy enough to have abundance, to have surplus, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to make it a part of my daily life. And so the DoorDash guy shows up at 7:30 a.m. And he's tatted up, he's got neck tats. Wasn't too nice to me. And I was like, hey, hold up real quick. I went and got a couple $100. I go give him a $200 tip. And this guy, he just didn't know what to do. He just breaks down and starts crying. This guy that was so prickly and kind of hard to me, you could tell he lived a hard life, still living a hard life. But I could tell, like, that little act of kindness touched him. And it touched, honestly, it touched me. So I tore my bicep about a month ago, and I've been on like this kick, this golf kick, where I never golfed before, and then I'm like, I probably have golfed like 300 times in the last 3 years. COVID just set it on fire. I'm completely obsessed. And I tore my bicep, and so I have this view of the world that I'm like, life is happening for me, it's not happening to me. This happened for a reason. I'm like, what's the reason? The reason is I suck at putting. I'm going to spend 3 months and I'm going to do it every day, and I'm just going to be dangerous when I'm on the putting green. So I've been doing this, so I go to the golf course and I'm putting. There's these two girls, these twin girls that are kind of at the front of the golf course. And they're like, oh, are those new Jordan lows? I'm like, yeah, do you like them? Like, yeah, but they don't have them in the shop. I'm like, well, let's get them for you. Like, what? No. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we went and picked them out on StockX and ordered them some Jordan lows. It just blew their mind. And I was just like walking on a cloud. I was feeling so good. The last time I got here to St. George, same thing. This kid's like, hey, are those the mochas? Yeah, do you like them? Yeah, I've been thinking about saving up for them. Sweet, let's get them. What? You're crazy. And it's like, is there anything better than to be able to just surprise people? But you can't do that if you can't take care of your own bills. So there's 3 steps. You have dependence, which is mom and dad need to pay for my bills, or the government needs to pay for my bills. There's a professor at Harvard Business School, who's the dean of Harvard Business School. And he said the truest form of dignity that you can give to another human being is to teach them to be economically self-reliant. You know, that's why I love this stuff. Because everybody in here is coming in humble, and they're paying their own money, and they're taking notes. And we're all a different spectrum. Some of us are starting, some of us are further down the road. But we're moving to become economically self-reliant. And I'm telling you, when you get there, it just makes you proud. And so many of you are already there. But for most of the world, they're not. And this dean of Harvard Business School, he said, you know, in the last 30 years, capitalism, it's brought over 1 billion people out of poverty. And they become economically self-reliant. They can take care of themselves. They live a better quality of life. So the secret to living is giving. Second one, business is a spiritual game. I'm telling you, when you give your life to something, when you give your gift, your life is your gift to the world. And when you go all in and you do a great job, you can just feel so proud that you're doing something truly great. building a great business is an end in and of itself. And if you can have that mentality that life is just about growing, it's about personal growth, and it's about service, and you can go apply that in your business, you will bring true happiness to yourself, and you will bless the lives of everybody you touch. And I believe that to my core, and I felt it. It's so funny, my wife loves church, and I don't love church as much as my wife loves church, but she loves it. And I'm like, I swear I get like more spirituality, I get more fulfillment from my job. And she looks at me sideways, and I'm like, I don't, and I never got it until recently, but what I realized is the reason that I could feel in spirit at my job is because I was serving people. I was trying to touch their life. Just trying to make them be better. So when Brody asked me to come spend time with you guys, the reason the answer is yes is because that's how I see the world. I see that your life is a gift, your skills are a gift, and when you serve, you're happy. So it makes me happy to be able to share, and hopefully there's some little nugget that will inspire you guys to dream bigger, to have more faith, less fear, more confidence, take massive action. Just go, burn your boats. If you want to take the island, you got to burn your boats. You can't be halfway, you got to go all in. And then this is the last one. The reason we grow, the reason we get big, is so that we have more to give back. It's not about having stuff. Like, I'm a big believer that your life is a stewardship. A stewardship is a sacred trust. And that everything we're given is the sacred trust given to us by God. And I really do believe that at someday I'm going to have to go account for what I did with these gifts. And it's the parable of the sower. It's the parable of the talents. It's saying, if I get one talent and I hide it under my bed, when I go see the master someday, he's not going to be happy with me because I hid my talent. But if I take one and turned into two, or two and turned into four, or five and turned into 10, then not only is he going to be happy with me, I'm going to get more talents. And what I've experienced in my life, and I don't know how to express this to you guys. This one I don't know how it works, but I do know the more generous I am, the more abundant I am, the more giving I am, just the more I receive. I don't know how to explain it, but it comes back tenfold. Not one for one. It's like it comes back in such abundance, and I've experienced that in my life. And in my core, I believe it. So anyway, I'm grateful that I can spend time with you guys tonight. Brody, I don't know if you want me to wrap it up or it's Q&A or whatever you want to do. I think I've gone over my time. So you kind of lead me. Where are we at? We done?
We're good. We're done. Yeah.
All right. Hey, thank you guys.
We'll see you.